Hello and welcome to World Talks on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. Poland and Germany have wrapped up their 17th intergovernmental consultations in Berlin, issuing a far-reaching declaration on security support for Ukraine, energy cooperation, infrastructure and historical memory. But despite these ambitious commitments, public sentiment and political pressures suggest the relationship remains delicate. So what do these consultations really tell us about the state of Polish-German ties today and where they are heading? Well, joining us to discuss that is Rolf Nikel. He's former German ambassador to Poland. Ambassador Nikel, welcome to TVP World. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening from Berlin.
Good evening. So, 17th such meeting, what has been achieved thus far?
I think these consultations are now really in the program every year. We had them last year. We now have them this year again. So these are regular consultations which have been decided in the treaty of good neighborhood and friendly relations of 1991. By the way, we will celebrate the 35th anniversary of this treaty next year. So I think this relationship is a solid one. We are two separate countries. Obviously, sometimes we have different opinions, but we are moving into the right direction together. Yeah. And I think these consultations...
But Ambassador, that's all well and good. But the reality is that public perception between the two countries isn't at a peak. There are political pressures. You've got the AfD in Germany, and you've got right-wing political forces here who are also disrupting the relationships. What's going to be done about those issues?
Well, I think the best way forward is not only talking, but doing things together. And I think these consultations, these intergovernmental consultations, really were, in my view, surprisingly good. My expectations were lower. The result of these consultations were on the high end of my expectations. There was a good atmosphere between the two heads of government. They talked seriously about the issues on the table. And what is became very clear during those consultations, that Germany and Poland are on the same side of history when it comes to the war in Ukraine, the war against Ukraine, rather. So this is really a good sign that both of our governments are doing things together in order to make sure that the war against Ukraine finds a good solution, and we are heading the same way. So this is really, really very important, and I insist on that because there have been some doubts before that, but these consultations really confirmed that we are looking face to face when it comes to the threat from the east.
Well, what are the concrete outcomes with regard to a unified front on the war in Ukraine? What are Poland and Germany planning on doing to present such a front?
Well, we have decided that the Commission will meet on how to reinforce our common position vis-à-vis the threat from the east. We have already done a number of things. The Patriots in Rzeszów. German planes are participating in the air policing on the eastern flank. There are sometimes some German planes present in Malbork. So that is already happening. But there is, of course, a lot more that can be done together. There are things, common projects on armament, common projects on how to reinforce the eastern flank. Poland will get about 1/3 of the SAFE program by the European Union, and Germany is wholeheartedly supporting this. So I think This is something really noteworthy because this is the real issue today. It wasn't always the case that Poland and Germany saw it the same way. Remember the times when we had Nord Stream 2 and all these issues, we were not looking the same way. But this is the case. So it's a huge advancement.
So how does that all sounds very positive and it's great, but why then is there such a low public perception of the other country in each of the two countries?
Well, if you have polls, they always tell you some things, and then you ask another time, and they tell you different things. But what has to be kept in mind is, of course, that we also have differences. I don't want to deny that. We are looking eye to eye when it comes to the threat from the east, but there are still some problems arising from the past, our difficult past, and that has not been solved yet. Although even during these consultations, progress has been made. It is clear now that the transitory movement of the remembrance of Polish victims of German occupation is moving forward to a permanent one. There will be money for an architectural competition, and there will be and also not to forget that Germany gave back 73 artifacts of the Teutonic Knights. So things are moving, yes, maybe not moving as fast as some of us would want, but they are moving, and that's the most important thing.
How much of these conversations is based in history, and how much is based, how much of it is based in the future, in planning and so on?
Well, I mean, you can't really completely separate them, because if you want to deal with the common threats today, you have to take into account the past, and so it's quite clear that that has an influence. But I repeat it, I think the most dangerous situation is now the danger from the Russian revanchism and Russian aggression. And that one has to be treated the way we do it now, the way we're facing these threats together, one side by side of the other. We are members of NATO, and NATO members are defending each other against that threat. So that's the most important thing. But the other things also have to move forward in order to make these polls better.
How much of a threat is the AfD to the current political position? The AfD is the main opposition party. How much influence do they have on the political relationship between the two countries?
I think the relationship is not very important. Yes, in some polls they have high numbers, especially in the East, and we will have some local and regional elections next year, which are worrisome to some extent. But the influence of the AfD on concrete policies is very, very limited. The political elite in Germany is squarely behind a very strong position vis-a-vis Russia and vis-a-vis the war against Ukraine. The AfD is trying to be loud, is trying to force its position, but the impact and the influence is very limited, at least so far, and I hope it stays that way.
Understood. Now, there was agreement between the two parties to build greater amounts of infrastructure, roads, bridges and so on, between Germany and Poland. What can you tell us about those?
Again, here, the commission was created between the ministers of transport to look into the situation. And there has been some improvement in the past, but not enough. For example, there should be more when it comes to railway connections between Angermünde Chechen, for example, or about bridges across the Oder. So I think that one has to be addressed, and I think we have to do some work here as well to convince our Ministry of Transport that these things are very important. But I think it's important that we get the ball rolling, that we have this commission, and once you have a commission working, public opinion will look to it that it comes up with results, and that's what I'm hoping for. So really, we have three commissions. Yeah, we have the commission on defense, we have the commission on the infrastructure, and we have a commission on the further giving back of our artifacts and pieces of art. So that is quite interesting, because it shows that there's a dynamism in this relationship.
Understood. Now, is this closeness that is developing between Germany and Poland actually coming at a pretty good time, not only in response to Russian aggression, but also in terms of demonstrating a united front within the EU and NATO towards countries like Hungary and Slovakia? Do you think there's a role for Poland and Germany together to play to bring those two countries back into the EU fold?
Well, we'll see how far this goes, but in any case, it's very important that Poland and Germany, possibly together with France, show the way how to move forward within the European Union. And it's also important, in my view, that Poland plays a part when we talk about the peace prospects for Ukraine. I mean, the American plan has been amended. We'll see what comes out of it when Special Envoy Witkov is in Moscow today. But it's important that all of Europe plays an important role, and specifically Poland, because we cannot move forward in Europe without an active participation of Poland and its government and its people.
Indeed, and we shall be watching the dynamic very, very closely. Ambassador Nikel, thank you very much for sharing your analysis with our audience. Have a good evening, sir.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And that brings us to the end of this episode of World Talks. But as always, don't go away. Lots more coming up. Goodbye.